get things straight. This is nothing new. Akko brings another, exploded 75% gasket-mounted board with a knob on the top right into the hobby, enticing newcomers into the rabbit hole. Still, I think it's a board worth looking at. Today, we'll be trying to figure out what's the difference with this Akko 5075S and how can Akko make this stand out with the crowded budget segment of the keyboard market. Let's get started. Akko's 5075 series is available in a wired-only and bare-bones configuration like what I have here for $60. You can also opt to get the board with their shine-through keycaps and your choice of CS switches for only $90, which is not bad considering that those are thick keycaps and the switches are great even stock. The same keyboard is also available with ASA keycaps and a Bluetooth PCB for $119. Colors range from pale dogwood, starry night, blue ash, and vintage white for the bare-bones version, and black and white for the pre-builds. Opening the box shows the included accessories inside. We start off with a fairly hefty gold knob, followed by a black non-coiled cable and a free switch puller. Sadly, no keycap puller on this one, but that's for you to have since this is a bare-bones version. Going back to the box, we are greeted with a nice hard plastic cover for the keyboard, perfect for storing it. Inside the P foam sheet is the keyboard in the flesh, in all of its Starry Night glory. It's such a nice color for my setup. It perfectly matched the channel colors as well. Moving on to the specs. The board is housed in a plastic chassis with an exploded 75% layout. The sides show the RGB side glow, which is surprisingly bright. The rear has its recessed Type-C port, while the back has the 5075S sticker in the center, a 2-stage adjustable kickstand on the sides, a Mac and Windows toggle, and some rubber feet to keep the board stable on a slippery surface. On the front, we could see that the board uses a gasket mount design. Case in point is the plate and PCB flexing when I apply a little amount of force. The PCB is north-facing and said to support the Akko software, but it wasn't recognized on mine for some reason. I'll blame it on an early unit, but I'll for sure contact Akko about this issue. Going back, the plate is polycarbonate and provides ample flex I was talking about earlier. If this was steel or aluminum, I'd give off the fact that this is a gasket-mounted board with silicone gaskets on the sides. Lastly, the board already has the silicone in between the PCB and plate, likewise inside the case. And the PCB seems to support screw-in stabs as well. We'll mod this later. For now, let's wear the shoes of a new keyboard enthusiast and build this old stock without any modifications. If this keyboard can sound great stock, then this can be a great budget board for those who want a Mod 007 or GMMK Pro aesthetic but for cheap. I'll be using Franken switches for this build to highlight the talk this board can do. I'll be using Glorious Bobas, a combination of the Glorious Panda stem and the Boba housings. These were also looped. For keycaps, since we're aiming for max stock, I've added the self-profile keycaps from Akko, a tall keycap profile that should emphasize the sound of this board. And since we have a polycarbonate plate, we can reliably say that this board will provide a deep sound, based on keyboard charts of course. Now, let's hear it. It sounds great stock. I didn't hear any hollowness nor pinging with the case and plate combo, and the stabs being pre-looped sounds great as well, with no ticking or rattling on my end. The glorious bobas, combined with the polycarbonate plate, really gave that talky and deep sounding keyboard we're aiming for. Now, let's try and mod this further just by tape modding the back of the PCB to reverb it a bit more. We'll also be removing some of the silicone gaskets to introduce more flex to the board. Opening up the board, you can see the silicone gaskets I'm talking about. This provides the flex of the keyboard. You could also see that the board has a Type-C daughter board to remove any strain from the port. Lastly, the white material inside the case is a silicone inlet designed to reduce the hollowness of the board and overall deepen the sound. Looking at the plate, you could see that the board has a silicone dampener as opposed to plate foam. This can hinder the flexibility of the board, but does introduce much more deeper tones to the sound. Lastly, I tape modded the back of the PCB and removed the middle gaskets to add more flex to the board. And here's how it sounded. For the price, the 5075S and its many variants are great options in the market. My only gripe with it is that I wish it had a south-facing PCB like the Mod 007S. Otherwise, it's a great entry-level board, even stock. The Keychron V1 does have QMK and BIA compatibility, not to mention the south-facing PCB, but it lacks the gasket mounting the 5075S has. Not to mention, if you want a wireless keyboard to bring anywhere, there's a 5075 variant for that. What are your thoughts on the keyboard? Would you rather pick this or the V1? Leave them down in the comment section below. Once again, I'm Johan J. Villanueva, and I'll see you in the next video.